Hey, what's up? It's Tekamaku, Mr. Notary on Automation, and I'm coming back to you with another skill building confidence lesson that you can take with you on the road as you go as a mobile notary. And if you don't know a little bit about me, I'm going to give you some background information. Again, my name is Tekamaku, and I'm known as Mr. Notary on Automation, and I am the owner of Golden Stamp Notary. You see the logo down at the bottom, and also I'm a product of such elite institutions such as the Notary Business School, taught by Andre C. Hatchett, the Notary Cashflow Academy by Tiger Toledo, and the Apostle Academy, taught by none other than Cam Combs. And these are very high level institutions, and these are all places where I've learned to cut my teeth, and I walked away with such great lessons. And I'm here to help you guys build more confidence as you begin to journey on your mobile notary excursion and also building your notary automated business. And it's very critical to understand is the Notary Cashflow Quadrant. And this is a very foundational in terms of knowing what direction you're headed into, and then also to make sure that you are not wasting your time or at least going to an outcome that you didn't desire. So if you don't know, just a brief background and history about me. When I was fired, or as they call it, terminated, I was adamant about not getting another job, and not in the sense that having a job is a bad thing. Really, the sentiment was more around the emotion that was around getting fired, or rather, having that ability to take the income opportunities away from me. So, the only way to prevent an income opportunity from ever being taken away like it did, because as we know, all jobs are temporary, the only way to do that was to do something very simple and do something very straightforward, and that's to have a business. And when I was introduced to the notary public industry, I was introduced to the business of the notary public. And it's important that that's a foundational understanding, because when you look at the left side of the notary cash flow quadrant, you understand that a notary signing agent is a job, a notary public also a job. Again, not worse, not better, not inferior, superior. It's just different. And then when you hop on the right side, then you understand that having a notary business, or at least having a set of systems that resulted in income being produced. And then also, one important component is that you can then remove yourself from that system. In other words, you don't necessarily have to execute the notarizations themselves, or you don't have to sit at tables and travel and print and ship and scan and do all those things, right? You have a system that essentially does this for you. And then also at the bottom right hand corner is the Notary Entrepreneur, which you don't use a stamp at all. So these four quadrants make up the various types of ways that you can produce income in the notary public industry. It is important that you understand this from a foundational standpoint. So moving forward, when you're building confidence and you are understanding, the skill that's involved with being a successful notary public, one of the biggest aspects of being successful is troubleshooting. Now, when you think of troubleshooting, what you think of is probably somebody who's sitting in an office, or you take your laptop or computer to the department where they, you know, show you how to recover your password, right? But when I talk about troubleshooting as a mobile notary public, I want you to think about this. When you approach someone's home or someone's business or someone's emergency room or someone's correctional facility, or you're in someone's office, coffee shop, wherever you may be, you're walking into a situation that you basically don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. Anybody could be there. You really don't know. Every scenario is going to be completely different. What do you expect when something doesn't go as planned? So when you troubleshoot, I want you to think about being ready to react, or at least be ready to answer, respond, no matter what the situation is. And this is a very important skill to develop. This is one of the reasons why I think people who come from the Notary Business School with Andre C. Hatchett are so successful, because Andre does a great, terrific, outstanding job of slowing you down. He slows down the whole process of understanding how documents work, and also understanding the nature of important meetings and appointments. So you can slow down, and therefore you take in less information, and therefore you end up speeding up. You end up accelerating your progress because you don't take on so much so soon and so unexpected. Troubleshooting is definitely one of the greatest skills that a notary public can develop, especially the successful ones, because you can walk into any scenario and you can take care of whatever happens. And the reality is that a lot of times people are signing, especially when it comes down to loan related documents. As you all know, I don't speak to, I don't speak a lot on those type of documents because, like, we go back to the cash flow quadrant, that's a job. And I was very adamant about not having a job and having a business. But the reality is that people don't read these documents. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but when people get these stacks and stacks and stacks of papers, they simply don't read it. Now, is that your fault or is that on you? Not necessarily. But the reality is that when they don't read these documents, they don't truly understand. Now, ask yourself this: if you don't read every item line by line, every section, then do you truly know what it is that you're signing? No, you're not really, right? I mean, you're confident in the attorneys who explain it to you and the people who can break this down. And then also, just the information isn't easy to read, also. Not just enjoyable, but it's not the most easiest thing to read. But the reality is that a lot of people sign documents that they don't know. I'll give you a quick story. There was a family who was signing over the uh, the reproductive rights of their unborn child, and they were signing over to another couple, and it's important that this person signs this young couple signs these documents because what sometimes can happen is um, when mothers give birth to these children that they initially plan to give up, they change their mind. They have a sudden change of heart. They have a sudden moment where they want to change their mind. The reason why they sign these documents is because there might be a high likelihood or highly unlikelihood of someone deciding, hey, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I changed my mind. I want to now do something else, right? So I make the point that if you come across a situation in which you're sitting in a Starbucks and there's two sets of families in front of you, and one family understands the importance of signing these documents because that's the reason why they call the appointment, versus the younger couple who may not fully understand the consequences of what this might entail from the emotional side of it, right? So I sat there, and then the question is always whether or not do you know what you're signing? It's the yes or no question. It's the yes or no answer. It's not up to me to determine their levels of understanding because I'm not an attorney, right? I, on the other hand, did correctly identify the person, and then they express that they can sign these documents. So, but oftentimes you can clearly tell when people just don't understand, don't know what it is that they're signing. So when you walk into these situations and you come across somebody who may not, um, fully understand, even if you don't understand, right? Because it's not your job to understand this, but this is what's going to help you to build confidence because these situations and troubleshooting those type of situations and making sure that you remain impartial and at the very least, ask the question, do you understand what you're signing or do you know what you're signing? And the answer is yes. And this is a very easy way to accomplish this by just setting boundaries and expectations before the meeting. And this is something that we do in the Notary on Automation course because when you walk into a scenario where you've set the boundaries and expectations, then it's very easy to troubleshoot these scenarios. And a matter of fact, you can completely eliminate these things from ever happening. So when people approach your appointments, and you can significantly decrease the chances of there being something unexpected happening. Now, something simple as in, where the location you're meeting and then the time, those things are pretty straightforward. But other things you can't control, such as, now, I'm not talking about somebody's giant dog or their wild pet jumping on you, right? That's not the type of control measurements I'm referring to. What I'm saying is you don't want to be in a situation where someone doesn't have an ID. or someone didn't know that they couldn't take their kid and go ahead and travel out of the country. You don't want to encounter situations where the person is trying to apply for a passport and it required the spouse, but the spouse wasn't present. Like these are the type of scenarios in which you come across the two business partners who have several signatures, and one of them, their name has an extra L or an extra M, extra letter, so the documents are technically incorrect, or the signers say, you know what, I'm just going to cross it out and then sign it, or I'm just going to contact the attorney and then ask their permission. Like you don't want to get into a position where now you didn't expect them to have to cancel the appointment, and then you drove 20 miles for nothing. So these boundaries and expectations are very important, especially when it comes to Notary on Automation. What we do is do things like getting paid in advance. You can definitely control these scenarios and eliminate the occurrence, because not only have you screened and disqualified these candidates, these signers, but they also understand that they know that what it is that they're signing, and they understand that once it once the appointment is is given, then their intention is to have them sign, and there will not be any backdrops. So there won't be any changes of heart, and therefore everybody is happy. You've been compensated. Your time hasn't been wasted. And also the building confidence aspect of setting the boundaries is that you walk in with a clear understanding of what is getting ready to take place. There's no time wasted, and then you can also set you up for an easy no. So that means if a question is asked and you didn't know the answer, you can easily say no, or call your lawyer, or read it again, or I can't tell you that, right? You have certain expectations that you yourself can follow. A great place to learn more about skill building is using Thumbtack. It's a great lead generation source for notaries. If you have never heard of it, then my recommendation is to learn about the platform before you jump onto it. One of the great things about Thumbtack is that you have a high level of expectations and you have a low amount of troubleshooting. Now, this is different from the type of appointments that you typically get from either third-party signing services or from title companies. You're usually walking into controlled environments, and that's good. So when you work with the public and you're working with specialty notary, then you are getting your own clients, and this is powerful because this is your time, and you can decide how the terms or how the rules of the playing field goes. And that's the importance of knowing the difference between a notary public and also a notary business owner, notary entrepreneur. For example, just having the book in 2 months, you can see results just like she did there. Also, one of the best parts about having the access to the Thumbtack platform is the return on the type of investments that you make. As you know, Thumbtack is a pay per lead service, so that means when people contact you, you do in fact pay for that. Now, why is that a good thing? I outline that in great detail inside of the book. Here's an example of you paying for a person to get in front of you, about $5.34. And knowing that notary public business owners, knowing that the people you serve and the type of demographic that's on Thumbtack and getting the level of return, it's not about this level of money here. It's not about this 10,000% return on investment, which is remarkable, by the way, which is outstanding. But knowing that with the situations in which you're walking in, knowing how to, having the confidence to troubleshoot if something were to arise, and then also setting the level of restrictions and boundaries for your clients and disqualifying them in a straight systematic manner. This is what's going to allow you to use the automations to return these type of numbers and make it truly worth your time. So if you still have questions about Thumbtack for Notaries and you want to learn more about building confidence, it's discussed in great detail about how you can use automation to implement some of these strategies. Take advantage of a one-on-one profile review, which will go over getting started and building more confidence.